Hello everyone, this is Jilan here. I'm the founder of Top Ranker and a mobile app for students to help them prepare for CET and APMT. Today we are going to talk about some totally unconventional tips and tricks that I have personally used during my course and that can surely help you boost up your score by at least 20% if not more. You surely want to give it a try. Before I begin, let me just introduce myself. I was a CET topper back from 2000 batch, completed my BE Computer Science from NITK Surathkal, previously worked at Novel, Microsoft and Amazon, and now I'm the founder of Top Ranker. Let's first go through the golden rules that are oft repeated but nevertheless hold true. There is no shortcut to success. Practice, practice and practice, and CET is no different. Know what you're up to. Know your syllabus well. Know your question pattern. Know how the questions are distributed for different topics. Try and solve topic-wise questions for each of the topic before you start out with model papers. In the holidays, your day should start and end with taking as many mock papers as possible. Several long hours of tuitions do you no good. If you aren't getting enough time for self-preparation and practice, make sure you have your own time to revise and understand. Now these are the golden rules which stand true for any kind of competitive exam, be it CET or anything else. But let's move on to some unconventional tips that are not talked enough or not many students are aware of. Now there are about 60 questions that need to be solved in 80 minutes. How do you go about doing that? That's roughly about a minute for every question, and if you get stuck in any of the difficult question, you end up spending about 5 to 6 minutes of time and you're lost. Now let's go over the kind of questions that are there. The 60 questions are generally divided into 20 questions that are easy and concept based, and 20 to 25 questions are of average difficulty, and the rest are above average and difficult ones. And every question paper, even though is having the same questions, the questions are distributed randomly. There could be a student who gets all the difficult questions right in the beginning, and there are some students who might get easy questions at the end. Now lucky are the ones who get the easy questions at the beginning, because that kind of motivates them and keeps them confident through the beginning of the paper and doesn't make them nervous. And for the ones who get difficult questions in the beginning, end up struggling and losing a lot of time, and they don't have enough time to complete the paper. And as you're aware of, every question is of the same marks. It doesn't matter whether the question was an easy one or a difficult one, and doesn't matter what question you answer, whether in easy or difficult, you still get the same 1 mark for every right answer. Now the trick is, how do you cover the entire paper to pick and choose the easy ones first so that you can answer them right in the beginning and then go and answer the rest. The trick is to solve the paper in 3 phases. The first phase, don't take more than 10 to 15 minutes of time and cover the entire paper, spending no more than few seconds on every question. The goal is to pick up the easy ones and attack them. And at the end of 10 to 15 minutes of time max, you would have covered about 20 easy questions and solved all of them. So at the end of the phase 1, you would have seen every question, got all the easy ones, and solved about 20 to 22 questions on the easy questions. Make a note of the questions that you have solved on the question paper so that you don't miss them out, and at the same time, when you're marking down the answer, ensure that you're marking against the right question. It should not happen that you have skipped the 5th question and now you're solving the 6th question, and the answer for the 6th question you're now marking against the 5th one. So ensure that you're marking the answer again is the right one. In the phase 2, which is about 20 to 25 minutes of time, cover the entire paper again and spend no more than a few seconds and pick the medium difficult level question. The goal is at this time is to attack the ones that needs a little effort, but you're confident that you can get to the answer. If you spend more than 1 minute on that question, it's not a medium difficult question, rather it's an above average difficulty level question. The goal is to try and solve at least 15 to 20 questions in the second phase. So in the first phase you would have solved about 20 questions. In the second phase you would have solved about 15 to 20 questions of time. And within about 25 to 30 minutes of time, you would have covered more than 50% of the paper. Now you get about 40 minutes of time to solve the rest 20 questions that are above average difficulty or difficult ones, which can be solved in the phase 3. Now because now you have more than 2 minutes of time per question, and also that there are a lot of other different ways of solving the same difficult questions in some shortcut ways, this could be easily attacked. Now this was tip number 1 on how to cover the entire paper, ensuring that you are ensuring that you're not in the last minute rush of skipping the questions. The tip number 2 is substitution methods. There are two ways to use substitution methods to get to the answer. One is inserting the answer options back into the question and checking if the conditions hold true. I'll explain this in a more in-depth way with an example in the coming slide. The second way of using the substitution method is by inserting a fixed value 0, 1 or 2, any basic value into the question equations or conditions and getting to the answer. Now one thing to note in substitution methods is there are times when multiple answers might come out to be true with this method, in which case you would have to use the same method with a different value to substitute with. Something to note and something to be aware of. Now when to use this method? If you are not sure how to quickly get to the right answer with the right way, if the problem looks too cryptic and cannot be solved under a minute, if you are unaware of the concepts behind the question, then you would like to use the substitution method and get to the answer. And at the same time, when should you not be using the substitution method? If the question can be solved in straightforward way in less than 30 seconds, you don't want to be using the substitution method and getting to the answer. This kind of tricks, the substitution methods or any other tips that we talk about, needs a lot of practice before using them in the actual test. So if you haven't practiced using them at home, using the mock test, do not use them directly in the exams. Let's take an example. This is an equation which says the value of b and c, for which the identity f of x plus 1 minus f of x equal to 8x plus 3 is satisfied, where f of x equal to bx square plus cx plus d are. So basically we need to find the values of b and c such that the equations hold true. Now if you are able to solve this in a straightforward way and get to the answer in less than 30 seconds, go ahead and do that. But if you think that you're out of time or you're not aware how to go about doing this, the substitution methods, what you do is set the value of x to be 1, in which case what happens is f of 1 equal to b plus c plus d, okay, and f of 2 minus f of 1 equal to 8 plus 3. So basically x value is replaced with, so one of the constants is gone. Now substitute the value of b and c in the equations above, where let's start with the first answer, b equal to 2 and c equal to 1. Now substitute these values in the second equation, where f of x, so you would basically substitute value of b and c and you would get f of 1 as a as a constant with having d as the d left over, right? And then substitute that value in the previous equation, which says f of x plus 1 minus f of x. You would arrive that the equations do not hold true. The left hand side will be different from the right hand side, in which case the answer A is wrong. Now you move on to the next answer, which is b equal to 4 and c equal to minus 1, and basically you repeat the answer, substituting the values of b and c, and try and evaluate the first equation whether the left hand side is equal to the right hand side or not. Now if you solve this problem, you find out that the b actually holds true, but do not stop there. Go ahead and check out the value of c and d. Like we mentioned before, there are times when the substitution method yields multiple answers, in which case you will just have to use a different value of x to eliminate duplicacies. So in this case, let's say that the answer substitution method yielded b and d to be true, in which case what you would do is a and c are already eliminated. Now you need to pick and choose between b and d, in which case just use a different value of x this time and eliminate, pick and choose, repeat the substitution methods and find out which of the one is actually true. Is it b or is it d? So go ahead and solve the same problem using the substitution method and do a lot more practice to gain mastery over this tip. Let's move on to the tip number 3. It's called elimination methods. It's a classical way of approaching multiple choice questions. Needs your understanding of the concepts behind the actual question before you can use the technique. Very often candidates end up eliminating the right answer, so you want to make sure you use it with caution. When do you use them? If you are unsure of the right answer, want to increase the probability of getting the right answer when you're guessing, you know the basic concepts behind the question and understand what is being asked. When do you not use them? Don't use elimination if you could get to know how to get to the correct answer directly. Don't use elimination if you could use substitution method to confidently arrive at the right answer. Not sure of the concepts behind the question, you might end up eliminating the right answer. Use it with caution and use it only if you are practiced enough. Let's take an example. The figure shows a rod of length L resting on a wall and the floor. Its lower end A is pulled towards left with a constant velocity V. Which of the following is the velocity of the other end B downward when the rod makes an angle theta with the horizontal? Now if you look at the answers, there are two answers that start with twice V, and there are two answers which start just with V. Now if you know how to solve this, because it's a fairly straightforward problem, go ahead and do that. But if you're unaware of it or you're rushing out of time, one thing which is easily to notice, you can easily eliminate two of these answers. Now since the velocity of A is V, the velocity of B has to be a fraction of B. Fraction of V, it cannot be in multiples of V. So basically it cannot be 2 times V. It has to be V times one of these. So basically answer A and C get immediately eliminated and you're left with answer B and D to choose from. So if you are doing a guesswork, then your chances of getting the right answer has increased by 50%, and you basically choose between B and D. Or even if you're trying to solve this problem, it's easy to note that you just have 2 answers to choose from. Let's move on to the 4th tip. You want to solve only as much as needed. Avoid unnecessary calculations that do not lead you to the answer. CET is very different from PUC. You're not graded based on the number of steps you have written. Just get to the answer. That is the key. Let's say there's a problem statement where you have to get the product of two large numbers. Okay, the product of 2123 and 34321. So this is fairly big numbers, and you need to find the product of these two numbers. Now, if you're at the types of doing the actual math and arriving at the answer, you need to definitely wake up. Because CET is not about steps, it's about arriving at the answer in clever ways. This problem needs, if you actually get the product using the regular math, it would probably take you easily about 30 to 45 seconds. But whereas this can be solved in less than 2 seconds. How? If you note, the product of the unit digit of the two numbers, which is 3 and 1, is 3. So even the answer should have 3 as a unit digit in the number. Thus the actual answer is actually D, because it's the only one that has 3 as a unit digit number. So you immediately mark D as the answer. Now, if you noted, we hardly solved the problem, but we arrived at the answer, and that is a key for success in CET. Every topper in CET does not do the complete steps and arrive at the answers. They know these tricky ways, or how they can get to the answer in as little time as possible, and that is what you need to master, and that is what you need to practice. Finally, I end with what I started. CET is all about practice. Solve as many mock papers as possible, and if possible, at least one full set every day. Go through the tips that we spoke about and put them in practice. Try and use them where this is possible. We are conducting mock CET and APMT tests on Android phones and tablets in collaboration with Arihant Publications, a leading publications for competitive exams. We just have 2 more tests left, and surely you don't want to miss it. And definitely want to practice the tips and tricks that you have learned in this video. Subscribe to the test by installing the app from www.topranker.club. Sign in and choose the test you want to take. Go ahead and make the payments using online, net banking and cards, and get your ranking among the participants. If you have liked the video, like it and please share them with your friends, and leave a note or comment. Thank you.